Good morning. Thank you for joining us for the HEB Chamber of Commerce New Business Seminar Series. This is our third seminar, Scaling Your Business. I'm Chad Hughes, the moderator for today. I'm the owner of Deluxe Roofing and Construction, located in North Richland Hills, and I'm also a board member of the HEB Chamber. Um, I've got some questions here and some introductions. I think I'll do the introductions as we get to each speaker. I kind of want to do these a little out of order from what they were given to me. I think I would like to start with Steve.
Okay.
Steve Farco is the president of Mason Dallas and Farco Industries. Mason Dallas Inc. is a 45-year-old multi-million dollar family-owned company in the vibration and acoustical engineering field in the construction industry. For over 30 years, Steve has productively overseen the vital operations and growth of Mason Dallas Inc. and Farco Industries. He is a graduate of Texas A&M University, a Bedford City Councilman, and an executive member of the HEB Chamber of Commerce, as well as the HEB Economic Development Foundation. So there's Steve's introduction. Hopefully we didn't miss anything there. Now, Steve, you're a family-owned business. Your family took a huge leap of faith and moved to Texas to expand their business into the Texas market. Obviously, the company has grown and expanded and continues to grow. What factors led you to decide to grow and scale your business?
Well, I mean, at the time when we moved down here, DFW Airport was coming. Construction was booming in the Metroplex. It was, however, our area where we all are was very rural. It was Dallas and Fort Worth, and the cities between were small. But the economic growth perspective was it. So it started out as a small one-man company with my dad. We expanded in the 80s a little bit. And in the 90s, when I came on, we were looking at the growth that was happening not only in the DFW area, but down in the Austin, San Antonio area and some of the surrounding states. So to strategically grow instead of building an office or starting an office, what we did was we got strategic partners that we work with that just repped our products down there. They had their own office, another line. So they were handling all the expenses and the sales and salaries for their employees. And all we was a buy and sell. So it was an easy way for us to duplicate without having a large capital outlay. One of the things that we look at if we're going to grow is what's the market potential? What's it going to cost us to put on additional salespeople? What's our production capability? Can we meet up with that production? If we have to put a new piece of equipment on when we're expanding, we look at what's the return on investment on the equipment. Are we going to utilize it properly? Is it going to be beneficial for us? And it's making sure that we're using the resources we have very strategically without laying out a lot of money and going into debt and taking undue risk.
Did you make that decision yourself, or did you rely on others to help make those decisions to scale?
It's kind of funny when you're in a family-owned business and you're the son and you go and you say, "Hey, Pop, I think we need to do this," and he'd go, "That's a stupid idea. I would never think of that. That's just dumb." So I learned to use a buffer. We had another gentleman that was kind of in our marketing group, and I'd go to him and go, "David, I think we need to do this." He goes, "That's a great idea." And he'd go to my dad. My dad would call a big meeting and say, "We're going to have this big meeting. We're going to expand here, and we're going to do this and that." So I guess I did use some other people to work in that, but I hope that everybody here has some type of mentor. It might not be in your industry, but it's somebody that has grown companies to ask those questions. And so, yes, I did use outside advice and influence of people that really had done it before me in various other areas.
What information did you look for when making those decisions? And to further on that a little bit, what were some of the indications that you looked for that told you that it was the right time to scale the business?
Well, one of the things is, and I use it through the chamber very, and it's there for everybody. It's economic growth predictors that we're getting from economic development folks. We're looking at new businesses coming in, what's happening. With us, it was what industry was coming to Texas. Texas is a great state, no state income tax. So we had big companies coming in the 90s, like J.C. Penney's were putting their corporate office. Mobile headquarters was changed. Exxon Mobil was building new headquarters. So we were looking at there and the potential for growth. We always wanted to be in front of or right with the curve. I didn't want to be on the end of the curve or wait too late. So you have to really mind your business. I mean, and that's what it is. It's in our industries, it was a construction business and economy. And Texas is so unique from everybody else that the indicators that we have, we're a big energy state. So you look at, okay, are they building power plants? Are they building what's coming in? What's the energy? How's the oil industry looking? Where's that economic growth? And then really in the 2000s, we changed to not just energy, but we're almost the new Silicon Valley in our area down in Austin with Dell Computers, and it's keeping up with that information and trying to stay ahead of the trend and being in a position when that happens to strike. And that's really hard. Do we incrementally increase, or do we do it all at once? And you take leaps of faith. One of the leaps of faith we took was during COVID. Our New York office and factory was going to be shutting down, so we asked them to ship or as much inventory to us as possible because we knew Texas was staying open. And it just happened that all our competition's factories shut down, and we had the product to go out and continue to do projects that were in the queue at that time. So we were having our competition call us to buy product. So it's those things. It's that information, staying up with what's going on in the area economically that can help you move your business forward.
And what is the best piece of advice that you have for someone that is looking to scale their business?
Well, I mean, one of the things is that even if you're scaling your business right now, or you think you're going to do it in the future, make sure you have been in contact with your financial institutions, your banks, to have that ready to strike. We have a big project that we just landed, and prior to, even if we didn't even know we were getting it, but what I did was I sat down with our bank and said, okay, I want to take advantage of some discounts if I get this job. I want to make sure that we increase our line of credit so I could take advantage of it and be ready for it and not have to wait and go through the 90 days of getting an increase on my line of credit and things like that. So really it's kind of sowing the seeds. You're preparing the fields even when there's not rain. You're preparing for rain. And that's the hard thing to do, because a lot of people are focused at the here and now. We've got business, we've got that, but you always have to be looking 3 and 4 years down the future of what the trends might be, what you want to do. Are you recouping your costs now and making profits that you can do that? And the one thing that we did that knock on wood, we got together and started to do is even in tough times, I worked on just squirreling some money away at the time. So if I didn't have a financial institution that was willing to lend me the money, I could take the chance with my own money and have that done. And people see, oh, I have this debt over here, I got to just keep paying it off, or my loans. You do, but you also got to put a little bit of nest egg aside for you, so you can, if something happens and you got to strike while the iron's hot, you've got that to move your business forward.
And I really love that, because in my business, it's very important to plan for the future. In my business, we're very dependent on storms and weather in the roofing industry. And you can scale one year to where you want to be when you've got a good storm year, but then the next year your volume may drop significantly. And so you have to be prepared financially. Don't spend all the money you make.
And in those downturns, you have to be getting your procedures together, and your company ready to be a well-oiled machine when the business strikes. And you know that as well as anybody. If you're not if you're not preparing for the business to do well, when it happens, you're getting orders out late, you're not meeting deadlines for your customers, and they remember those things. They're like, well, last time they couldn't do it. But if you're Johnny on the spot or Janie on the spot, it doesn't matter, and you're getting out there and doing what you need to do and taking care of your customers, and making sure that your service is good. And if I could tell you guys one thing, no one's perfect. Every once in a while, you're going to screw up an order or something. Take care of it. Don't run from it. Be there to make it right, no matter what. And you will still have that customer, and it will help you in the long runs. We tell people that all the time. We're not perfect, but we're going to be there if you need us. We're not going anywhere. We're a 45-year-old company. And be there when your competition screws up. Fix their problems at no cost.
All right. Thank you, Steve. I'm going to move on here to Kari. Kari is the founder of Melt Ice Creams, where the mission to give you the best 5 minutes of your day. Melt opened in April of 2014 and has since grown to 4 scoop shops, a production kitchen, a catering department of food trucks and carts, national shipping, and grocery distribution. Kari is a graduate of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program and was selected as one of 20 women entrepreneurs for the 2018 James Beard Women's Leadership Program. Kari has served on the advisory committee for the Fort Worth Food and Wine Festival and actively serves with local nonprofits, the Birthday Party Project and Texas Refugee Services. And I wish we were all doing this at your location so we could enjoy Might be a little early for that, but I don't think so. It's never too early for ice cream.
I got ice cream in my freezer here at the office from John Fletcher from you, so it's great.
Thank you.
So Kari, how did you realize that you were a hot commodity?
I mean, I think we all know that Texas is one of the hottest places on earth most of the time in July and August. But really our customers just demanded that. So at our original scoop shop, it was just 700 square feet, and we would make as much ice cream as possible, and we would, sell out. And so it was really our customers' demand that pushed us to grow and expand. So, I think ice cream is appeals to somebody who's 8 or 80. And so really just tapping into people's love and nostalgia for ice cream and the memories that it invokes in them was really a part of who we are and being able to create the best 5 minutes of their day. So really us just pouring into making sure that we are making the best product possible with the best ingredients possible is part of what made our product so special to our customers. And then, I launched, this company in seeing a need. I would travel to other places, and everybody has their local ice cream brand that they champion, or their local pizza place. But DFW, being the size that it is, did not have, besides a grocery store brand, did not have a place that you could take your kids to, a place that you could celebrate your memories at, and special events. And so we wanted to create that place where you could have the best 5 minutes of your day. And once we opened our doors, our customers really just demanded that growth. We couldn't keep up with production. We couldn't make enough to keep our ice cream cabinets full.
So did you make the decision to grow and scale, or was that decision, it kind of sounds like it was made for you?
Yeah, I mean, I would think everybody gets to make choices, but it was either, I had, part of our mission was to provide happiness to people. And if you were to bring your child on a Saturday night at 8:30 p.m. that you'd promised ice cream, and we had sold out of ice cream, then I couldn't live out our mission to be the best 5 minutes of your day. And so it was really, on the principle of like, I really want to be true to the values that we created. So yeah, I think it's a combination of both, but then an opportunity opened up for us to move that original location to a street that we really wanted to be on. And it allowed us to expand our footprint and expand our kitchen and be able to produce enough product.
Did you make these decisions yourself, or did you have access to someone to coach you along the way?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. At different times, I've been involved in different organizations with mentoring. I think inside me, my drive is really to continually learn and educate myself, especially in areas that I'm not as confident in, right? I think predominantly women aren't confident in numbers. So making sure that I understand and know how to read my P&L really well before I make any financial decisions was really important. But the organizations that I've sought out, are my lifeblood. Having women all around the country that own restaurants and our restaurant tours through COVID was really just the access to be able to talk to people and see what they were doing in different parts of the country. But I'm also not afraid to look somebody up on LinkedIn and cold call them and say, can I have some advice? You're 10 steps ahead of me, but it's the direction that I want to go. I don't think there's anything wrong with seeking out those people that have, asking them what they wish they would have known so that you can avoid those pitfalls and mistakes and not fall into those. I do that on a regular basis. If it's a piece of machinery that we need, if it's a location, if it's anything, it's something in our financials, I'll ask somebody that's a few steps ahead of me and ask what they learned along the way and what I need to look out for. What are those red flags?
That's something that I was very fortunate to learn at a very young age. I learned a lesson that has served me very well through life, and that is in my adult business life, and that is if you go to the experts in something, the people that have been there and done that, and you ask them for advice, the people that are very successful in their fields, if you're willing to ask them for advice, they're actually almost always willing to give it. And they don't expect anything in return for it. They get more satisfaction out of being able to pass along their experiences and their life lessons than they do from making the money. And so that I was very fortunate to learn that at about 12 years old, and I've never forgotten it. And I've taught that to people that I've mentored over the years as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the first thing that I did when the pandemic happened was called people even in totally different industries and say, what were the things that you did in the 2009 financial crisis that kept your business afloat? What are the number one, what are the top 3 things that I can do?
What's the best piece of advice you have for somebody that's looking to grow and scale their business?
I would say as an entrepreneur, we're always looking to like fix problems. We're always trying to find the best way, the most efficient way to do something. And I think sometimes that can cloud celebrating the wins along the way. And those wins and those celebrations are what keep you and your team excited to continue on that journey of growing. So I think often young entrepreneurs early in their journey just forget to take the time to celebrate those wins. And I think that's really important. I think there's also a really good book called Small Giants. And it talks about companies that can really grow their revenue while maintaining culture and care for their people, and really help you decide, what does growing your business look like for you? Is it expansion of 1 million stores? Is it growing your revenue with the resources that you have? And it really helps you think through that framework of what's right for you as a business and a small business, and that growth looks different for everybody. And just because your competitor might grow one way doesn't mean it's necessarily the right way for you to grow. And so really figuring out what it is that you want. I mean, for me, it was, a lot of us who own businesses, the business can really become your personality and drive your life. But you didn't get into it for it to dominate your life. You got into it because you wanted to do something special, whether for the people that work for you or you saw a hole that was missing. So for me, I really want the business to be an asset to my life and not just my whole life. And so I think it's really important for you to figure out what it is that you want out of your life when you're deciding to grow. What does that look like? And what is that going to look like for your life? And what is the right path for that? And so that book, Small Giants, is really helpful for me in kind of figuring those things out.
I think that's a really great point. In my industry, I watch a lot of companies and a lot of very young companies that'll come in, and there's an unfortunate trend of a lot of roofing companies that they literally start the company with the intention of selling to investment groups. So they're focused on growing and trying to become one of the largest companies here in DFW. And there's companies that are doing it around the country. That's just not who I am. And I could go that path if I wanted to, but it's just not who I am. It doesn't match up with my values. So we purposefully, though we scaled, we've scaled our business, we purposefully keep it at the point where we want it to be. And that's important for people to understand what they want to grow to. And maybe those goals change after you reach that point. You may want to go to the next. But I think it's important for people to keep that in mind when they're scaling their business, is what is your end goal that you want to get to?
Yeah. And I think Steve said something about making sure that your operations are at a sustainable place for that growth. And you have to really balance those two things out, because there's never going to be a shortage of opportunities, but making sure that it's the right thing for you at the right time and the right thing for your people and your business at that time.
Absolutely.
Kari, I like what you said. I mean, you can't sacrifice. I mean, when you decide what you want, and one of the things we look at is, I'd rather do half the jobs at twice the profit and have half the headaches than taking every job or kind of reducing the value of what we offer. I don't want to be the supermarket ice cream. You want to be the ice cream that people want to have, and they'll drive wherever to go to do that. We don't want to be the company that has people just a revolving door, just buying a product. It's a service. It's something we're proud of. It's quality. And you think that's what you really see. If you want to be a $10 million company, you want to be a $10 million company at 10%, or do you want to be a $6 million company at 40%? I mean, you got to look at those before you decide to grow too fast.
Absolutely. Well, I've saved Don for last. And I did this because Don Proctor is the area president of commercial lending with First Texas Bank. He has 30 30 plus years in banking with both large and small banks. He has been with First Texas for the past 9 years. Don is married to his wife, Andrea, for 23 years and has 3 children. Don is currently serving on the board of the HEB Chamber of Commerce and the Arlington-Mansfield Area YMCA Board of Directors. Past organizations that Don has served have been with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Tarrant County Board of Directors and the Downtown Arlington Rotary Club, serving as the past president. Like I said, I saved Don for last because of Don's position in banking and his experience there. And I think he can give people some great insight on what they need to scale their business when they've made that decision to do so. So Don, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can.
Great.
All right. So Don, when someone wants to take the next steps to scale their business, what do you look at to start the process to secure a loan or a line of credit?
So by the time they contact me, the business owner has already identified a need or need to expand. So they've already gone through the process that Steve said and Kari said, that we've evaluated our situation. There's more demand out there. We have a hard time financing that growth, and so we're making this decision now. I think it's more common, to Steve's point, that once a business owner, say they get a huge contract for something new and they need to fund that, so that funding usually comes either in the form of cash or they use creative resources or bank debt. They come to me at that point. What I would prefer as a banker is we'll do what Steve did: talk to your banker first, lay out, this is a possibility that I'm gonna be growing my business. This is what I'm looking at, and then you can start to plan for that, and we can actually kind of get you pre-approved. So that's a very important step, is to contact your banker first. Just give us a call. What we typically will do is I'll ask questions, and the biggest thing my biggest advice to business owners is to make sure you know your numbers. Make sure you know what your revenues are, what your growth is, your expenses, your gross margins. Know your numbers inside and out. I'm going to be asking those questions, and if you don't know the answer, then I'm less confident in being able to finance that project or the expansion for you. Invest in a qualified accountant, whether you bring someone internally or you hire someone externally for that. Having good set of books, numbers that we can trust as bankers, is paramount. Once I figure out that those numbers are not correct, again, we're losing faith in what you're doing as far as a business owner. So those are the biggest things. Now, once we decide, okay, we think we have a viable deal here that we can finance, I'll typically give them a list and usually send it by email. So our first conversations are usually by phone. Sometimes they come in, but we'll give them a list of things, and it's usually the last 3 years tax returns if we're dealing with a new customer. Existing relationships would probably have a lot of that financial information already. Your income and balance sheet statements, your personal financial statements. You're typically going to be, especially if you're dealing with small business type loans, you're going to be a personal guarantor on whatever credit facility you get from a bank. So you'll be providing not only your business tax returns, but your personal tax returns. We'll do an analysis. We'll ask questions. If your existing cash flow can afford the purchase of equipment, then we basically go off of that. If it doesn't, if whatever you're doing, you're expanding to a new location, you're going to ramp up production, then a lot of times projections are involved. And so what we do is we look at the projections. We look to see if they're reasonable. We have tools on our side to check based on your industry and asset size and revenue size. We can see what your peers are doing. So we can actually check whether those assumptions are reasonable. And if they are, then we have tools. We have SBA lending that we could follow, and we have conventional financing that we can follow. So there's options there, but I would always suggest talk to your banker first. Just get a feel for what is required, and then kind of go from there.
Now, I know, Don, that a lot of small businesses when they first and many even years after they've been in business, they don't really have any line of credit, or the business itself doesn't really have any credit. There's no D&B numbers, anything like that. I know with my business, I'm able to go out and purchase, if I want to go purchase a vehicle for the company, I can do it on the business credit outside of my personal. What information can you give people on getting stuff like that set up so that they are building the business's credit rather than everything relying on the personal credit?
Yeah, operating lines are fairly common for businesses that actually produce a product. So a lot of times you'll have accounts receivable is your most common line of credit. And so you're basically whatever receivables you're getting from business that you're doing, you can put that up as collateral and you can lend up to that amount, up to a certain percentage, usually 75% of that outstanding receivable. And it has to be an eligible receivable. And eligible means that it has to be within the usually for 60 or 90 days. Once you get past that, it's no longer an eligible receivable. We deem it as non-collectible. It might still be good, but we're not going to include that as in your, what we call your borrowing base. So that's the most common type of line of credit. You can do other types. You can do, SBA has a great line or really loan, expansion loan product to where if you're looking to purchase equipment, it's not a line of credit. It could be a draw note, but you can actually pay for the initial equipment, have it shipped, pay for the installation, et cetera. And that can be done in several draws. And then you've got a note there that you're going to be paying principal and interest on. It doesn't revolve like a line of credit. So most commonly, what you're going to do is on the line of credit is put your receivables up for collateral. We will take an all business assets lien on everything else, furniture, fixtures, equipment. But that's going to be the governor of how your line operates. And so once you get your receivable in, you take that proceeds and you pay down what you advance. And so you just keep doing that. Every time you get a new receivable, you can do an advance on that. And that pays for overhead. It could pay for inventory. We can actually include inventory in that line as well and lend up to a certain percentage. But that helps with payroll, overhead, expenses, et cetera.
Okay. Let's see, what else do I have here for you, Don? Don, what would be the best advice that you have for somebody that's looking to scale their business?
Just know your numbers. Be prepared. I'm going to ask you questions, and if you can't answer them, then we're going to have a hard time moving forward.
Short and sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Is there any questions that any of you have for each other?
I think it really, the banking part of this is really boring. Kari and Steve have great insight on being actual business owners. So I'm hoping everyone gets more value out of that than my little piece, because mine is, although it's a necessary part in most cases, but you guys are the ones that drive that. You know your numbers. You're good operators. You're not going to have any issues typically getting financing. You're on mute.
Am I still on mute?
No, Steve, you're on mute.
I was going to say, Kari and I probably appreciate Don more because he's the guy we've got to go to when we want to expand. So we like his perspective on things.
Great, thank you.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is true. And I think when you want to, I think as a small business, you think scaling up or expanding is a new location or new equipment, but sometimes it can be small, just adding a new product line, adding a new service. So I think, how would you go about that, Don, if somebody doesn't have a need for a lot of money, but just some line of credit to add that new service or that new product or a new fixture that is, not thousands and thousands of dollars, but it is significant to a smaller business.
Yeah, it's, the dollar size, I have more customers tell me that they just put something like a small piece of equipment on their credit card and just finance it that way, knowing that they're going to pay it off pretty quickly and not have to go through the hassle of presenting all your financials just for a small loan. I'd say typically you want to make the investment if it's significant. If it's a significant purchase, that talk to your banker at that point. There's other creative ways you can finance it, but a lot of times most small business owners get deterred Now, we are looking into other programs. I know other banks have these already where you can just do a small line of credit and it's just credit scored and it's a quick down and dirty. Typically, you'll pay higher rates for something like that, but those are available. We're going to start looking at maybe introducing that into our bank and our market, where you just do an online application and you can get funding within 24 hours. And it's going to be like for loans 10, 15, 20,000. So once you're looking in the 50,000, 100,000 range, that's where you're probably going to have to sit down with me or a banker and actually provide those financials and go through and see what's viable.
That's good advice. Thank you.
Now, Don, do y'all also offer open lines of credit at your bank there? I know that I have a line of credit that's just an open line. I've never had to use it, but if I needed to pull from it, I can pull money from it.
Yeah, it's similar to a revolving line. It operates the same way. You're basically putting up collateral for it. If it's, you can do unsecured, but it's usually we're not a big unsecured lender, so we don't offer large dollar amounts. We'll do, maybe 20,000 unsecured. But if you're needing more availability, then you'll put up your ARs and inventories as assets or for collateral, and then you just use it when you need it. Again, that's available as well. Now, typically these are all on 1-year terms, and they typically renew after 12 months. So we do an annual review. We'll ask for tax returns and financial statements again, and then renew it for another 12 months. But we've got one customer that hasn't used theirs in 2 years. They don't need to because they're doing well, but we have that available for them.
Okay. Well, Sue, I have one of the things that you said about expanding and stuff. Always be looking to expand, especially in the good times. Never be settled. Phil always told me, don't read your own press. Just because you're doing good, don't rely on that. Look to see if there's opportunities to expand in the good times too, because there's tax savings advantages of expanding when you're having a high profit year. So there's always opportunities to look. And even if it is a small product line, we just put on a new product line and we started doing well on it. And we just decided that we've got about another $1.5 million in sales. We're putting a new salesperson on, but it's going through and saying, okay, we're going to do that. This is what we're expecting. This is the salary we could pay. This is the commission structure we could pay. And we're always looking at, will the company grow because of this? So always be looking at expanding in good times and in bad.
Kari, I have a question for you. This is Sue. Have you ever considered franchising?
Absolutely. I have. I've been approached many times, but right now our goal is to really own the DFW market. So, there's over 7 million people here in DFW, and right now we're predominantly in Fort Worth and owning the Fort Worth market. I like the ability to control our brand and control our culture. But we have, I think it's been really important to us. We're a really process-driven company, so that we have repeatable systems. So we kind of have the infrastructure if there was the right opportunity, but it's not something that has been a part of our business model growth, because we have kind of a different vision for how we want to grow right now. But the infrastructure essentially is there. Our biggest challenge is our production facility. So we have a very seasonal business. So everybody wants ice cream in the summer. We don't have enough space and freezers. So a little bit of what Don is talking about is what we're going through right now as we look for expansion and production so that we can fulfill the needs of our stores and our future stores. And so it's not necessarily something that we're going after right now, but it's definitely, within the realms of possibility.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I have to say that I was very interested in doing this, and one of the reasons why is I know what it takes to scale the business I'm currently in and the former business that the businesses that I owned. But it's very interesting for me to learn more about scaling different types of businesses. When we started talking about putting this together, I wanted to get more of a well-rounded group here that you know, I would like a retail business. I would never know how to scale it, you know, construction that I'm very familiar with, but so it's interesting to learn different challenges that people face. And I hope this has been very informative to anybody that watches this. And hopefully people learn some things from it and get some good advice. And I know that I'm sure you guys will be there to mentor and give advice to anybody that would like to ask in the future, especially the other chamber members. And I appreciate you guys being here today and taking the time out of your busy days to do this.
And I too want to thank everybody, Don, Steve, Kari, especially Kari, we'd never met before. Thanks to John Fletcher for twisting your arm to do this. And hopefully you're not a stranger to the HEB Chamber, that we can see you again, maybe at a luncheon as a speaker or even a member. So thank you very much for taking your time today. Steve, I know you're anxiously waiting for the rest of your afternoon. Don, thank you very much. So again, I just want to thank everybody. It was great. And hopefully we can do something like this again.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
Thanks.
you, guys.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
Thanks.
Thanks. You too.